This podcast is sponsored by Highclere Castle Gin, born from a castle, renowned for its parties and acclaimed for its taste. Highclere Castle Gin is the winner of over 200 international spirit awards with a triumphant 100-point score. Pick up a bottle for yourself at highclarecastlegin.com.
Welcome back to the SpoilerTV podcast, where we break down everything in the world of television last week. There's been some huge news in TV land this week. Ryan Murphy is causing waves again. Law and Order is back, and a few unexpected shows are blowing up. A few shows also came to an end this week. So Power Book 2 Ghost on Stars, apparently it gave fans mostly a satisfying conclusion, but All-American Homecoming, on the other hand, did not. And the reason for that is because they had the season filmed before they found out they were canceled. And I feel like that's a huge problem in TV nowadays, is that networks are not telling showrunners that the show's been canceled until after the season's been filmed. And so it leaves fans super disappointed. And I know with last season, NCIS Hawaii ended, and it left fans with a big cliffhanger, which will never be resolved because it's canceled. And so networks are always worried about people moving over to streamers. And if they want that to stop happening, maybe they should be not worried so much about the money and giving showrunners a heads up that, hey, this is going to be your last season. Let's end it properly. What do you think? Agreed, right?
I agree. Like, it was the same thing with Manifest.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
Thank goodness that Netflix picked it up, because otherwise we never would have found out what happened. And I feel like Netflix ended it in the perfect way. I just feel like they need to be telling people in advance that, hey, your show might get canceled. So make sure that your ending is decent, because that's so depressing.
Even if they're not 100% sure, tell them ahead of time, look, your numbers aren't great. Maybe plan for a proper conclusion just in case.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think The Resident did the same thing.
I think
all of a sudden I was watching it, and then it was gone. It never recorded again. And I was like, but how did it end? like what? Like, it's disappointing because you get attached to the characters, and then it's like, you never get the ending you need.
And if you don't have your viewers, guess what? You don't have your network. So maybe they should be working harder at making their viewers happy, and they're just not doing that. So, something to think about. Hopefully things change this season, but with shows, but we'll see. I don't know. But anyway, that's my rant for the week. Let's kick things off with this Ryan Murphy news. So Ryan Murphy. Well, last week we talked about his big ego, about saying that Monsters kind of gave the brothers their fame and made them relevant again. And now he's out here saying that. So, of course, they released this week that the district attorney is maybe looking at reopening their case, the Menendez brothers case. And he's out here saying that he deserves credit for it. So what do you think, Susanna?
Yeah, I saw that. He said that they should be sending him flowers. I mean, I don't think that the show itself made them reopen the case. I mean, they've been putting appeal after appeal after appeal even before the show came out. They just kept getting denied. But I think a lot more people are advocating for them now. And I think that if they get more people advocating for them, then they start, thinking about things a little bit more. It's not because a show came out. I mean, if that was the case, then how many other people would have been out because of shows? I mean, honestly.
And well, I also do think like a lot of people, like, I didn't know anything about this story until he put the show out. And I get that a lot of people don't. So I think it's targeting a whole new audience. And I think that might be what he's trying to say, but he's not saying it properly and is trying to get all the credit, because like all the people younger than me, even, right? Like I was talking to my husband and we were like, we never heard about this story when it first happened, but we were too young, right?
I don't even know if you were born.
No. Well, exactly. So it's like, this never would have been something we would know about, but now we do because of the show. And, Netflix shows like this go crazy all the time. But I don't think that he is the reason that all these people are fighting. Now we know the real story, these new people who are finding it out for the first time. And we're like, okay, well, I think Ashley mentioned last week about Gypsy Rose, how she got out, and she had how many shows, there was movies, shows, everything about her. And look how long it took for people to actually be like, okay. And she didn't get out because people fought for her. she
It
got
was
out
the
every
time.
time was
Yeah.
tough. Do you know what I mean? Whereas people are now seeing this and they're like, I think Kim Kardashian posted yesterday, I
She
might be
did.
wrong,
She did.
that she thinks they should be freed, you know,
Yeah.
but I don't think he is the reason. You know what I mean? I think he's just the reason that a lot of people are finding out, like, that
About the brothers.
Yes.
Yeah. And the other thing too is the show doesn't even paint them in a good light. It paints them as arrogant, spoiled brats that killed their parents. And so, no, the show would not be the reason they were getting out. The whole thing is now, like, and Ashley said this last week, is that abuse and men was not something that people wanted to ever talk about back when this case happened. And now we're realizing sexual abuse towards men is real. There's a lot of evidence to prove that it actually happened. That's why. And the fact that they've done nothing but be good role models in prison and do humanitarian work. So that's the reason why, Ryan Murphy, it is not about you. So, but it's just crazy. There's also lots of discussions about Ryan Murphy this weekend, how he's just pumping out series after series without any thought as to quality. So right now he has 6 dramas on TV, 6, 911, 911 Lone Star, Monsters, Grotesquerie on FX, Dr. Odyssey, and American Sports Story with that's based on Aaron Hernandez. And Variety actually had a really good article this week, have we reached Ryan Murphy overload, where it's like, they're saying how when you watch multiple shows of his, this characters seem to blur together because they're so similar. And although his shows are visually appealing, like lots of blow ups and Dr. Odyssey with that beautiful ship, they're lacking substance. So,
well, I also
like
feel
books. Oh, sorry. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I also feel like I'm a big 911 fan,
yeah.
and I know that they do real kind of events that have happened in the world or stuff that could happen, but I feel like Dr. Odyssey is trying to compete with that with the type of health scares or whatever they're having on the ship. It's like they're trying to outdo what you see in the other shows. So I feel like that is one reason why it could blur together.
Yeah.
And I was just mentioning, like, it's like you read a book, okay? Like, so you read the same author. Like, I've been reading, I think it's Frida McFadden. And, like, every book ends up being very similar. You know, you know what's going to happen. The plot is the same. The characters do the same thing, you know? And it's just, like, over and over again. And I eventually had to stop because I'm like, it's just too much. And so when shows are like that, too, it's like, well, why am I watching 5 shows that are pretty much the same? You know, because they're all from the same person when I could, like, you know, venture out to something different, right?
Yeah.
So that's crazy. He has that many out right now.
Yeah. And, you know, we talked a little bit about Dr. Odyssey last week and how this week was just, I don't know about you, but I watched it and it was just as bad, episode 2. At least they addressed the fact that there are some ethics on board the boat, whereas Dr. Max can't be fooling around with his nurses. But, like, I don't know. It's too Love Boat trying to be a medical drama, and it just does not work. And I don't know. I'm not fully sold. Maybe it's still early. Hard to say. Numbers, ratings for it are pretty good though. So people are.
Yeah, I just saw that yesterday. I mean, people did tune in for the pilot and the second show, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are a lot of medical emergencies for a 1-hour time slot. I just feel like that.
And they do them just for the shock factor too, I find.
think so. I think so too. Yeah.
And they had some good guest stars, like they had Shania Twain, and then of course Cord Overstreet, who worked with Ryan Murphy on Glee, was there this week, which is, I mean, great. But again, there's that flashy aspect, right? Like, let's bring in all these big names and
well, that's what brings people to tune in, right? So
that's exactly right. Yeah. So anyway, let's see what goes on with Ryan Murphy. I'm sure we'll have some more drama this week to talk about. But speaking of long-running dramas, we have Law and Order back this week. And Susanna's our Law and Order resident expert. So what do you think? What did you think of the premieres?
So for Law and Order, I was actually a little bit interested in the premiere because, you know, there's 3 major character changes. Cameron Manheim left as the captain, and they brought in Maura Turney, and everyone knows her for ER fame. I think she did a pretty good job with her character this pilot, or not pilot, but this season opener. Now, Sam Waterston, everybody knows, he was the main Law and Order guy. He left, I believe, 3/4 of the season last year, and they have a new character. He's doing a really good job too as well. And then I noticed also that they have a new detective. And I don't know if you've paid attention, but when Law and Order first got reboot, they brought in a lot of the older people that were on there before. And they've had a change in detectives like 4 times already.
Wow.
So it's a little bit interesting to see what'll happen this season with all the new character changes. But it was a good episode, so we'll see. I mean, the substance is there; it's always there. Dick
Okay.
Wolf is amazing with his storylines. So now, Law and Order SVU, great, did amazing in the first season opener. As you know, they were focusing more on the case of some 3 NYU law students that were sexually assaulted, and one of them was killed in their
Wow.
apartment. So, back to the basics. The one thing I really liked is this is the first season that for the last 4 seasons that Captain Olivia Benson actually has a full squad. And I really hope that the people gel with the originals. I know they brought in a girl last year. She was okay, but a lot of the viewers didn't think she did a really good job with gelling with the original cast. So she ended up exiting the show. But we have a new detective in, and it's Juliana Aiden Martinez. And I don't know if you know, but have you watched the Netflix Griselda?
Yeah.
She was the main police captain
Oh.
in the Griselda series, the detective that actually brought her down. And she did
Oh,
an amazing job in that role.
she was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed her. So I think that she's going to bring a little bit of added spice to the SVU team.
Yeah.
So the big thing that everyone is caring about with the fandom is Benson and Stabler, Benson and Stabler. I've been doing some reading. They're looking like they're going more towards cases this year and not so much towards the detectives' personal lives.
Yeah.
I don't know with organized crime moving to Peacock if we'll see a lot of crossovers. And I think that's going to get a little bit upsetting for some of the fans that finally want to see them get together. But, this is the first episode. Let's just see what happens. And OC has not come back yet. So we'll see what happens and if they come back. I also heard that Kelly Rollins is coming back.
Yes, she is. She's doing a guest.
Yeah, and I'm really happy about that because I
Yeah.
felt like she was really good with the cast that whole season when she was there, and she did such a good job with Ice-T and Mariska. I feel like they had a really good chemistry, so I'm glad that she's coming back.
Yeah. And I know like people are pretty upset. I do know that Mariska Haggerty has really said, yes, we will still do crossovers, but I mean, I don't know if she's just trying to appease fans because I can't imagine it'd be easier, especially because they're not even on the same filming schedule anymore. So
No, but as of last year though, if they wanted to do more crossovers, they would have. One of the big storylines in last season was the girl that went missing at the beginning of the season and didn't get found till the end. She was in the fentanyl drug ring was a really big part of her disappearance. And that was the fentanyl drug ring that they were trying to bring down in OC. You
okay.
never saw any crossover there with that. So I feel like even though the storylines could intertwine, they're really keeping it separate. So we'll see what they decide to do.
Yeah, and when OC will be back because there's
Yeah.
definitely no premiere date yet, and I don't even know if they've started filming. So
No, I don't either.
yeah, so well, let's move on now to the big hit of the week, which is Nobody Wants This on Netflix. And I know Jessica and I have been watching, and it stars 2 former teen actors. So there's Kristen Bell from Veronica Mars and Adam Brody, of course, dreamy Adam Brody from the OC. This is a 10-part rom-com, and they play single people in their early 30s who meet and are attracted to one another despite some big differences, right? So the creator, Erin Foster, actually based the show on her own life in which she met and fell in love with a Jewish man, and she's not Jewish. So what did you think, Jessica? Like, what do you think of this series?
I honestly probably wouldn't have watched it, but I listened to this podcast scrubbing in, and Becca Tilley on the podcast, she was like, this is literally about Tanya Rad's life. And Tanya Rad actually works with Ryan Seacrest as well. And so I was like, it's about her life. Like, I love her and her future husband so much. I'm always listening. So I'm like, let me watch it. And she literally said, if she didn't know that this was about Aaron Foster's life, she would have thought it was similar to hers, because it's very similar. She is, I believe she's Christian, and she's super out there. She's funny. She will just tell you how it is. Like, she's very open about things, which I feel like Kristen Bell is in the show as well.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, that's what drew me to it. So, but yeah, I just cannot believe how huge it's getting. And I mean, my teenage me, I'm like, oh my God, Adam Brody from the OC. Like,
you're not the only one.
He ages like fine wine. Like, oh, just so great. But I think as I was watching, I was so drawn to how the character was truly herself. She would just open, like, I think I like laughed so hard when she texted him, and she was like, after they had their first kiss, I believe it was their first kiss, and she was like, I think I'm pregnant. Normal people wouldn't, like, you might think that and be like, oh my God, I'm pregnant from that kiss. But you wouldn't actually say it to
That's right. That's right.
She said it. She was her true self. She went out and said it, didn't care what he might think or what other people might think. And I think that's why this show is such a hit, is because she is being accepted the way that she is, flaws, craziness,
everything.
And how different she is from him.
Well, she's a pro-sex therapist, or not a therapist, but pro-sex podcaster.
Yeah. It's like, just like
she's a rabbi.
It's the most random couple. And it just works so well. And I feel like this is what some other shows are missing, because if she would have texted another guy like that, she probably would have been ghosted.
1,000,000%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and absolutely. This show is just showing a very different side to that. And I just love it.
Yeah. And I think too, like, her ability to just walk into the mosque that day and just sit down and like not care about what anybody else thought. But the supporting cast in this show is absolutely hilarious too. Like his brother and her sister, like they're just everything. I don't know what it is, but everything about all parts of the show were magic. The casting was magic. The writing was magic. Like everything, I think it just resonates with everyone that's watching. And I really think that, it's Kristen Bell and Adam Brody have this amazing chemistry. And obviously it's not love chemistry. They're happily married and that's great. But what that chemistry from their friendship that they bring to the screen, that's what makes the best rom-coms. And that's what makes this one of the best, because you very rarely see that chemistry nowadays. And it's not
true.
It's not fake. It's like so legit. And that, highly recommend.
I was watching them on the Kelly Clarkson show, and I was just like, they are literally friends.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these people, they go and do these movies, these shows, and then they move on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they are friends. Like, and you could tell, like, the way they communicated, like they played this game on the Kelly Clarkson show, and like they were like cheating together, and I was just like laughing so hard, because I'm like, they are friends. And that's why it translates so well on camera.
Yeah.
It's not forced. They are friends, so they have that sort of chemistry. Maybe it's not romantic in real life, but you know what I mean? Like, so it's so nice to watch. And I think you were spot on about the supporting characters. They are so good. And some of them I've never even heard of before or seen.
Yeah.
I mean, like this might be like some of their first like big breaks, and they are just like so funny, so good. Like, I just love it. It's so good. I can't wait.
So good. I highly recommend. And I gotta say, I know for a fact, and I haven't seen the ending yet, so I'm not going to spoil it, but I do know it leaves it open for a season 2, and I'm super happy about that. So, looking forward to watching to see how that shapes up, but better be a season 2. That's all.
Such a good show.
Yeah, so good. So, Nobody Wants This. Lots to talk about it on Twitter, and it's blowing up. But another one series that came back to American fans this week was Sullivan's Crossing, and of course, Jessica and I are Canadian. Well, we're all Canadian here, but Jessica and I live in Canada, and we got to see it already, of course. So we're not going to spoil much. But...
Not fair.
But for those who don't know Sullivan's Crossing, it's a real tale about small town life, love, family dynamics, complicated family dynamics. And I actually got to speak to the showrunner, Roma Roth, this summer, and she was so humble and wonderful, and she really talked about the care and thought that she put into the casting and every element that goes into it. But kudos to her. She gave all the props to the actors and how wonderful they are. And she just spoke so highly of Morgan Cohan and how her like ability. That character is just stacked with trauma, and Morgan brings it every single time. So, Jess, what did you think? What did you think of the series? But try not to give too much away. But what did you think?
No. Well, again, another show. I'm drawn to shows where I know the characters from previous things. So Adam from the OC, and then this one, obviously, I am a One Tree Hill girl. So I love Chad Michael Murray. I am a Lucas Scott girl for life. So as soon as I saw he was in a new show and it was filming in Canada, I obviously had to watch. And another show where it feels homey.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean when I say that? Like it feels like, maybe because it's filmed here, I truly don't know, but I feel like it feels like small town life in Canada. It's like the two characters, like I love Maggie. Again, never heard of her until the show.
No,
and she is literally like the sweetest. Her character, like she literally has been through the ringer. And like you see her go through that, in the first season, and then it continues into the second season. But her, like the relationships type thing with Cal, and like up and down, it's like it feels realistic.
Oh yeah. They have really good chemistry with each other as well. Again, both, like, he's happily married, great, like nothing like that, but somehow on that screen, and again, they have a good relationship off screen as well, and that really helps. But it's just from day one, they just had that magic together. And actually Roma talked about when she spoke to Chad Michael Murray she approached him about the role. As soon as he found out what the role was and what the series was going to be about and how they were filming in Canada, and he was so sold, like, because she says he's just a really humble, nice guy that really cares about stories like this. So,
for sure. And I think the filming locations, Wilmington and is it Nova Scotia?
It is Nova Scotia. Yeah.
Like very similar vibes. Do you know what I mean? Small town, like, super like old and like, I don't know. It just, maybe that's why I'm so drawn to it too. Cause it's like sort of the similar like location vibes. But this second season was so good. And again, left us on a nice little cliffhanger for season 3.
Oh my God. A big one. American fans are going to want to keep watching.
Yes.
Lots of good stuff coming, but also lots of holy. Yeah.
Well, the whole season is holy wow.
Oh, like, well, yeah. Every episode.
So many episodes, I was like,
I told Roma when I spoke to her that she's the queen of cliffhangers. And I said, I'm not ruining anything for American fans because those have to be felt. But you have to feel them, not spoiled.
Yeah.
So,
so good.
Yeah.
I better be prepared then when I
Oh my gosh, get prepared because you got some big ups and downs this season. But one thing that Sullivan's Crossing fans should know is that Roma has agreed to speak with me again to end off season 2 in this America. So that's exciting. And maybe we'll get to tap into what she has planned for season 3, which they are already filming in
that's awesome.
Scotia. So, which will premiere in Canada in the spring. Sorry, Susanna, you'll have to wait till the fall. But yeah, lots of exciting Sullivan's Crossing stuff coming on. But now let's move on to One Chicago. So Jess got into Chicago Med this week. What did you think about that?
Okay, I know Ashley said that Grey's needs to end. Okay, I don't agree. Okay. I love Grey's.
I agree with that, Ashley. I hate
but I think Chicago Med needs to end.
Oh,
I am over it.
Hey,
I feel like this might be like super like, and again, I'm drawn to shows because of characters. Okay, so I was drawn to Chicago PD because of Sophia Bush.
Correct.
And then I got drawn to Chicago Med because Sophia Bush's like love person was in Chicago Med. So, and they were doing tons of crossovers at the time. I don't see them happen as much now, but they were doing like every few weeks, it felt like there was a crossover. Yeah. And then, so that's how I got into Med and I loved it. I loved it so much. Okay. And now I'm like, I just can't get into it. Like every episode, I feel like I'm like, I don't know if it's because I'm not as fond of the characters anymore. Because, oh my gosh, I'm so terrible with names.
That's okay.
what's his name? What's his name?
I don't know.
Paul said.
Oh, yes.
When he left,
yes,
I feel like I just wasn't into it anymore. And like,
not
even
the only
like
one
some
who
of
says
the,
that.
no, and even like
Oh.
some of the storylines now, I'm just like overdone.
Yeah.
Done
But
before.
you know what? 10 seasons is when you go above 10 seasons, it is so hard to keep a show fresh,
For sure.
exciting. Like, I can't believe Law and Order's in season 20, whatever. And like,
But I think it's because of the Dick Wolf's amazing. That's why.
well, and it's all about the showrunners too, and the writing team. And not to say that Chicago's got, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it takes a lot to keep a show fresh after 10 seasons. And maybe it's like, I know it's a hot night for NBC, the One Chicago night, but I don't know. I mean,
but I do remember you saying last week that you are over Chicago PD. Okay.
I am.
And I am not over Chicago PD. I need more, even though so many of my favorite characters have left. This is another show. I believe we talked about this earlier, how like when in Law and Order, you're hoping that the people all connect together from the team.
Yeah.
And I feel like they have done such a good job adding to the force. And it's like I've loved all the new characters that they've brought in. Obviously, I'm sad of our little Winnipeg girl.
I know,
Tracy. So depressing. I loved her.
Yeah.
Like, it was so good. And again, her man's left.
Well, Tracy, that's what people are pissed about, right? Because they loved her and they loved him, and when he left, and then I think they're mad about the way that they sent her character off. I think they wanted her to kind of get reunited with him, and that didn't happen. But so I think a lot of viewers kind of got turned off by that. But
and I could see that because again, you get connected to these characters, right? And like you're like, you know, you love the characters together. Again, One Tree Hill, Lucas and Peyton, you know, people loved them so much. If you ended that show without them being together, that would have been it. Do you know what I mean? Like, people would have been up in arms. And it's the same as here. Like, first he was with Sophia Bush, and then that ended because she went off, you know, to this new force or whatever. And then then he's with Tracy, and they don't even end up together in the end either. It's like, when does he get his happily ever after? And I know he's not on the show anymore, but it's like, we just want to see that he's happy and that she's happy, because we all came to know and love her. And like, she fit in like butter. Like, she came in and she was just so good. She was like, it was like she was meant to be there from the beginning. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't even remember her not being there.
That's for sure.
That's good chemistry. If you don't remember them not being there, for sure.
You know, like I like, if I didn't remember that he was with Sophia, I would have been like, was he with someone else? You know, like, wasn't he with her the
whole time?
But she was so good. I'm so sad she's gone. But
I know. But hopefully the rest of the season will pick up and be great. And I know people have followed him over to FBI because they love him so much. He's moved over to FBI on CBS, and so, you know, best of luck to his character over there. Good for him to try something new. Because again, like, actors want 10 years is a long time. Some actors want to try different things. Although going from one police show to another.
Well, a lot of the actors,
sometimes it makes you think, did something happen?
That's exactly right.
I mean, a lot of the characters from Law and Order are all on FBI.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, it's all, I'm like, okay, so I guess they were written out in a way, or Law and Order ended, the original. So they all migrated over to FBI. Because when I started watching that, I was like, hey, what's going on here?
So, Jess, I know you mentioned Grey's Anatomy. So you say there's a new character that you want to...
Sorry, I wanted to say her name right.
Yeah, of course.
Her name is Floriana Lima, and she was in A Million Little Things.
Oh, like,
literally, I was obsessed with her in that show. Again,
it's a great show.
Oh, I loved her, but I just hated how she came in, because I feel like I hated her because I wanted, you know, Maggie and him to end up together. But so she was in that show, and so I saw her on this show, and I was literally like I said, I'm terrible with names, so I'm like, I know her. Where do I know her from? And so then I'm like, I had to find out who she was, because it was going to make me angry. So I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm looking, and I found out there's a new recurring character. And I'm like, but who? And so I finally found out that it was her. And I'm actually quite excited about this, because Owen Hunt, I feel like everybody doesn't like him on the show. I've heard he is the nicest man ever, but everybody hates Owen Hunt on the show. And she's from Owen Hunt's past. So I'm excited, and I'm hoping that Shonda's going to make us all love Owen Hunt now from whatever this storyline
Maybe
is going
she
to
is.
flow.
Maybe that's the plan.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping, because I feel like like I said, he's such a nice guy, but he gets so much hate because everybody hates his character. So I'm really hoping that she's coming to make things better.
Well, Shonda is pretty good at listening. I know people don't agree with this, and this might be a controversial statement. I think she's pretty good at listening to her fans, but I don't know.
And I am, like I said before, I'm not ready for Grey's Anatomy to end.
I only say that because I have a huge heart for the Station 19 peeps. Honestly,
I know.
I love them, and
So depressed
the
about
only
that.
reason I'm just pro that, but I can't really even say anything. I've never watched the show, so
Yeah. Well, I'm not a beginner watcher. Like I watched it during COVID, and that's how I picked it up.
Lots of people did. Lots of people.
And I fell in love. I was like, oh my God, this is so good. I can't believe I haven't watched this forever.
Yeah.
And and I feel like her bringing in these new interns the last couple seasons, that was like such a good shakeup. And I feel like they're like similar to the original interns, but still their own people. And I'm also loving, they're having a lot more LGBTQ people, which is so great. And because I think we only had one back in the day.
Wow.
There was.
Yeah. And then more recently they've been starting to bring on more. So I'm loving like the girls together.
Great.
And that's a nice little change. And so I think it's heading in a good direction, but I also think they need to let go of some of those old characters if they're going to head in a new direction, because 1 hour here and there, I'm not getting the full vibe from them anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like I need a full episode back to back to back, not every episode different characters. Do you know what I mean?
And the reason they're doing that is because they were renewed, but their budget was cut.
Money. Yeah.
And so, but they still want to bring in all these new characters, then guess what? You got to say goodbye to some other ones. You just do.
Yeah.
Because you're right. If you're not seeing them every week, you're going to forget.
Well, and then you're not building that connection with them.
That's exactly right. Nobody cares.
What I mean? Yeah. Agreed. And like they're doing this whole new thing with Catherine and her, her cancer scare and stuff. And I'm just like, I don't know that that's like the storyline we want. Like, no offense to Catherine, but I feel like a lot of us that are still watching, because I know a lot of people have given up because it hadn't been on forever, but a lot of us that are still watching, I think we're more interested in the newer storylines with the newer characters versus something like that. And I don't know, she's always just given me the vibe that I'm not like the hugest fan of. So I'm like, I don't want to hear about your drama when you're mean to people.
Well, that's true. That's true. If
you know what I mean? Like,
nobody
she's
cares.
so mean to Meredith, and like all of those people. Like, I don't know where her like anger comes from towards them, but she's so mean to them. And I'm like, I don't want to. Like, I'm sorry that this is happening to you, but you're mean to everybody. It's hard to hear about someone else.
But I have to say, to give an unlikable character a storyline like that is pretty bold, because when nobody likes you, nobody's going to feel sorry for you.
For sure.
Where's the empathy there? There is none. So,
So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I do think that, maybe a storyline like that could have been traded for something with a newer person or another character that's more beloved. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, hopefully as they move through the season, they'll figure stuff out. And if they get another season, hopefully they shift it to focus more on the newer cast. Because again, there's a lot of younger people that are now watching the show, that have started to watch the show. And, again, listen to your viewers. That's,
when you connect more with people similar in age to you. Do you know what I mean? So like the older people, like, do you know what I mean? I don't know. I just don't feel like I connect with Catherine. Versus, connecting with, the interns are younger than me, but like, I just feel like I connect with more of the younger crowd versus the older.
Yeah. So another show that was back this week was Found on NBC, and it had such a great first season, and the second season is shaping up. I actually have seen most of it, so I'm not going to give anything away, but it's going to be a really good season. Mark Paul Gosselaar, his character Sir, is now free and has kidnapped one of the crew, Lacey, who he had kidnapped when she was a child. So there's lots of that old trauma coming back, and the team is really struggling with Gabby's secret and how she kept Sir in her basement for so long. And so there's, Margaret's really struggling. And so this is really going to impact the team. It'll really be interesting to see what happens. But one thing I find that's really interesting about this is Mark Paul Gosselaar has such a big fan base. And his character is not a good person. Like, he is an evil, evil man. And yet, for some reason, people always want to glorify him on the show. But one thing the show is doing this year is finally making him look like the villain that he is. So I'm really hoping that people see, yeah, he can be Mark Paul Gosselaar, but he's still playing a really bad guy.
That's because people see him as Zach, and they'll never
That's
not
the
see him as
problem.
Zach.
I know, but man, he's killing it in this role. He really is. Like, he's
Yeah.
doing such great work to make him not be Zach, and people are just like, like,
I know.
turn your brain off.
And it's very hard because he's always played the good guy. So
Yes.
it's very
Yeah.
hard to see him as finally someone that's so evil. But that's what makes it good, though, because he does such a good job.
He scares me. Honestly, God, he scares me. Like, I don't, because they're having flashbacks to when they're showing flashbacks to when Lacey was kidnapped as a child, and how she used to, after she was returned to her family and rescued, she kept seeing him pop up in the closet, and every time those scenes show, I like freak out, and then sometimes I can't sleep after because I think Mark Paul
is in your closet.
But honestly, like, he does such a good job. But like, the one thing I do wonder is, he's a main character, and now that he's free, how do they sustain that for more seasons? Because eventually he's got to get caught, right?
Yeah.
So
it'll be
I don't know. That's one thing I'm gonna look for this season. But you gotta catch NBC Found. It's on Thursday nights, and it's super good. So yeah, that's a wrap on This Week in TV. What are you guys most excited about for this week? I'm looking forward to the premiere of Tracker Season 2. It's on the 13th, Sunday, which also happens to be my birthday. So happy birthday to me.
Yes.
He's back. I also cannot wait for the Apple TV thriller Disclaimer, which is coming out. It's supposed to
that looks actually really good.
Yeah. And Outer Banks is back. And Jessica got me into Outer Banks, and Susanna. And you know what? To be honest, I liked the first 2 seasons, and last season I just wasn't into it. And so I don't know how much I'm going to like season 4.
Yeah, my husband and I were talking, and it's just not how it was in the first 2 seasons. Like, it captured you, Susanna, like, it's filmed around where you are. So a lot of the times you're like watching, and it's so exciting because you can see like some of the locations.
Yeah.
I think that what they're going to have a hard time doing is, and for the trailer, it sounds like obviously they found the treasure, but now from the trailer, it's like they spent all the treasure. That was a huge treasure. Like, how did they spend all that money and now owe people money that they have to go back and find Blackbeard's treasure? So I just don't, I feel like they're running out of ideas. So now they're going back to treasure hunting again. But I would really, really be interested to see how that money just disappeared.
Yeah.
So I would love to see how they work that into the show and why it is they have to go back into that dangerous lifestyle. But I mean, I love the scenery, obviously. The first 2 seasons, and I believe parts of the 3rd season, were all filmed in South Carolina, which is pretty funny because it's here in North Carolina, in our beautiful Outer Banks. But they did film this season in Wilmington, so I'm excited about that because the landscape will look a little bit more like it should in the Outer Banks. So I think that'll be good.
I'm going to watch, but I'm not.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
I can't give up. I have to watch a show to
That's
the
right.
end.
Me too.
Yeah.
What else are you guys excited about for this week?
Love is Blind. I need to watch that. I'm excited. I've seen some drama stirring up on TikTok, so I'm excited to see what it's all about. Yeah, that'll be my next show that I'm going to dive into. I think.
Good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm waiting for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, which doesn't have a premiere date yet. But man, I'm super excited. Can't wait for it to.
Those shows are huge. Everybody loves those, and the drama, I'm sure, there's plenty.
Yeah. And we just started covering reality TV on SpoilerTV. This is new. We're super excited about it. Lots of fans were asking for it, and it's doing really well on our site. So, So we'll be diving into those as they come.
I love reality TV.
Yeah, who doesn't, right? So thanks for tuning in, everyone. Don't forget to hit us up on social media and let us know what you think about all the TV news this week. And you can find us on X, Twitter, SpoilerTV, IG, we are SpoilerTV Photos, Facebook, SpoilerTV, and you can listen to this episode anywhere you get your podcasts. We are now on Apple, and I'm super excited about that. And you can watch this on our YouTube at SpoilerTV. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. And we really appreciate your support. And don't forget to tune in next week. We've got some special guests joining us as usual. And hopefully we will get some celebs on soon enough. So keep listening, keep watching. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good week.